Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our listeners, and Happy New Year. This is our first podcast of 2026, and we are joined by Naveen and Mohan of Aira Security. Welcome, guys. Happy New Year.
Thanks, and Happy New Year too.
Thanks, likewise.
Yeah, hopefully you guys are excited for 2026 to see what it brings.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course.
Great, great. So thank you for making time from your busy schedule and the first business day of the year. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, pretty good, Diane. How are you doing?
It, yeah, thank you so much for having me and Mohan here. Yeah, thanks.
Well, great. So, just for context, these conversations are part of our series where we explore how IT services leaders, such as yourselves, are navigating today's challenges. So, let's start off with some introductions so the audience gets to know you guys. Mohan, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Mohan. I'm the CEO of Aira Security. Prior to founding our startup, I was with Box in infrastructure and product security. I've been in cybersecurity space for around 15 years. In past, I found critical bugs at Google, Netflix, Spotify, and together with Naveen, we spoke at various cybersecurity conferences, and we built a Udemy course in past on LLM security. And my journey into cybersecurity started way back with my master's in security, and since then I juggled between various roles from vulnerability management to incident response, offensive security, pretty much done everything. And in last few years my focus has been on AI. Right after ChatGPT launch, Box rolled out Box AI product, and I heavily worked on securing Box AI systems, and that's how I got into solving a lot of AI specific cybersecurity challenges.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. And Naveen, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm the CTO of Aira Security. And so before that, I was with like AWS. I worked on agentic driven services like Bedrock Agent Core, where I was a lead security engineer, designed security controls for services like Bedrock Agent Core, Transcribe, and things like that. And before that, I was at Box, where I led the product security. For I met Mohan. Me and Mohan used to work on a lot of like hackathon projects and other cross team projects as well. So that's how we met and we got connected. And I also built their first DevSecOps security platform. And also I have like 5 patents in AI security. So we like in addition to course, like we have also published several open source tools within security space as well. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Great. Thank you for that. Um, as the founders of AI Security, right, there's a lot of curiosity about what you guys do. So before we dive into that, just for the sake of our audience, I want to set some frame for in case you're a first time listener. So typically we start off with the company background for our guests, and then we go into industry trends, and then we talk about current challenges that they're seeing, and finally we wrap up with a look into the future, both near term as well as long term. So that's sort of the format we'll be following today, as well as we have in the past episodes. Lots to cover today, so fasten your seatbelts as we get started. So Naveen and Mohan, as the founders of Aira Security, tell us a little bit about each of your roles and how you fit into the big picture beyond just the titles.
Yeah, of course. I spend most of my time on product direction and talking to customers. I try to understand where agents are being actually used in enterprise. And as you know, like it's still too early for a lot of enterprises to adopt. And adopting agents is really hard for several use cases. And I constantly talk to customers and listen to their pain points. And most of the time, I really understand, hey, what have you tried? And where things break in their real environments. So that is really helping to shape the product that we're building, and also to stay focused because there is like a lot more to solve in within this agentic security space. But we are nichely focusing on agentic behavior analysis. So that's where my role is mainly tied to listening to customers like from what they're really saying and then decoding and then changing into product direction.
Yeah, like Mohan mentioned. So basically, my job is to convert all the pain points into a product where the customers can use that product to solve their problems. Basically, for both of us, this kind of sits right in intersection of the things that we have worked in both our careers. So that's kind of interesting for both of us. So that's one of the reason, like, why we decided, okay, let's first try to understand what are the different pain points. So Mohan tries to talk to different customers, gather all the feedback, pain points, and then I try to build solutions so that our customers can use those solutions and then try to start using the agents in a more trusted and safer manner.
Got it. No, that's a good explanation for how you guys both fit in to the larger picture. And as a product guy, Naveen, I'm sure you're managing a lot of requirements and sprints and backlog rooming, just getting feature releases planned and doing some road mapping, right? So that's great to hear. Why is the agentic security problem so interesting to tackle for you guys?
I guess it's mainly like, me and Naveen work on especially agentic systems in last 1 to 2 years, especially Box and AWS where he come from, and overall, like most of some of the problems are coming directly from old school issues too, right? Like that ties to API security or product security as a overall. So we spent many years in cyberspace securing large enterprise systems, and in last few years focused on AI systems. And even when we zoom in last 1 to 2 years, we worked on securing agentic systems at enterprises, and we see a lot of real value in agents. I am a huge believer that a lot of these mundane tasks or even some of the low level decision making can be done through agents, and that's where industry is also heading towards, although we are still evolving in this space. And when agents started to take actions on their own, that's where security risk comes in. Like there is no 100% way to say, hey, agent is going to do this behavior every single time, right? So every time its behavior changes, and that's where we constantly thinking, hey, the behavior changes. It's as if more like a 8-year-old kid who is little unpredictable at that stage. Right? So we want to you know put some level of control in place, and along with some context, right? Like, because security metrics is changing. Few years ago people care more about visibility, and now can we tie those visibility into some context? You know such action is being done. So these are the things that we constantly think, and as these systems behave more autonomously and own, it's very hard to keep them uh, intact. So that's why, like, we feel this problem is so interesting. We didn't pick this problem just because we want to build a company. It's more like it's super fascinating and interesting to see how LLMs think and decide of certain things. And it's just the beginning. We still feel like, what if an LLM can see and do more of human behaviors, right? So I mean, there are a lot more potential to happen, and this space is going to be even getting more interested as we move on. So that's why, like, personally, it's super exciting and interesting to me, and it's more like you know e- even during in my childhood days, I always inspire from things where it constantly shifts and changes. I see the similar pattern here. Hey, I'm gonna do this, that, and like so many of behavior and issues here, and we human things, although like very differently, right? Combining all this massive power, I see this is more like an Iron Man, that needs to be guarded. That's why it's super interesting to me.
That's awesome. So that puts me into the next obvious question. What made you guys want to start a company?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Naveen.
Yeah. Cool. When the agents started showing up in prod environments, so like Mohan mentioned, something fundamental has changed. Systems are no longer executing code written by humans. They are actually making decisions, chaining actions, calling different tools, talking to different resources, and touching the data on behalf of the user, right? So basically, stood out was that old maintained models that no longer fits the current agentic scenario. So, and these systems weren't just missing like a checklist or like any other security scanner for that matter. They were missing a way basically that does not allow customers to understand what agents are doing in real time. So that's when we realized this gap is both like risky and actually interesting at the same time. So that was a sign that we decided there is really a work that needs to be done, and that's one of the reason like why we started this company. And we love to build solutions right from the start. So that's also like another reason like why we combined both our like love to build solutions as well as the passion that we had for agentic security, and then that's how like Aira Security was born.
Yeah, and just to add to that, as I mentioned, like we both went to talk in various conferences, and towards the end of the talk, like people come to us and talk about their environments and how their enterprise is adapting and their challenges and pain points they are seeing. And especially right after our talk at B-Side San Francisco, we spoke to numerous people there where they are trying to experiment the agents and they really have no clue what to do, like how to secure them. And as we see a lot of people come talk to us about the same similar problem, so that's where so realize, hey, this is also a real problem. It's more sort of like a validation on what we were thinking. So when we looked up several other cybersecurity products out there, a lot of them still are looking at prompt layer security. So prompt is good. It's definitely a baseline security and nice to have. But when it comes to agents, it's much more beyond securing the prompts and responses from the model. We see clearly there are hardly very very few startups doing it, and they're also brand new, and a lot of them are still early, and everyone is figuring out. It's still a lot more innovation to happen in this space. And that's where like because after having all this conviction, then we decided to quit our job and to build what we are doing. So that's what drives us to see this is a real problem and people really needs to solve, and by solving this we could unlock lot of use cases and workflows, and the world is going to change the way from now on, right, with more agentic solutions. And at the end we are all improving our humanity overall through technology, right? So from healthcare, a lot of use cases we see that are improving human life. So it really touches in various aspects of being a human and also a technologist to see this happening, and we definitely feel a responsible way to secure how things are.
Thanks for that. For listeners that are new to this space, right? Talk to us about MCP and why should security teams care?
MCP is like the universal USB dock for AI. It gives models a standard way to plug into tools like APIs, different data sources. So building like one-off integrations every time. So now there is a standard way to connect to different sources. And if something plugged into the dock is malicious or compromised, the model may trust it too much. This kind of opens the door for issues like indirect prompt injection, command injection, or even poison tools that suddenly start doing things that were never meant to, right? And the agent can do malicious things, compromise user data, and a lot of things go wrong from there.
Got it. So why would you? Let's talk about this, right? Why should security teams care about MCP in terms of how they're rolling out agentic security, I guess.
Got it. So if you take a look at agents, right? Agents need to talk to outside softwares or like outside services.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the way that gives capability for agents to talk to those external services out there. And so basically, if a customer wants to give the agents access to like any outside tools, they will just simply install a MCP server, and via that MCP server, the agent can access a bunch of tools provided by that MCP server. And if either that MCP server gets compromised, or if any one of those tools provided by the MCP server gets compromised, a lot of things can go wrong. They can even execute like remote commands and then take over the system, or try to access sensitive data and then try to send it to an external server where the attacker can access those data or the user knowledge, and also trick the agent to do something malicious, or even give some fake responses back to the legit user. Basically, a ton of things can go wrong from here. So why
Yeah.
security teams want to really focus on agentic security, especially MCP security in general.
Yeah, that's why to tackle all these challenges, we built an open source, to help enterprises adopt to scan for MCP configuration issues. Yeah, Naveen can add more on that too.
Sure.
So that's a good point, Mohan. So where is the balance, right, with open source and MCP, and then putting the guardrails in place, right? Talk to us about how those three things, those three factors, type of intertwine with each other, and any value that this brings.
Yeah. Sure thing. So we believe providing visibility is like the first line of defense. That's where everything starts. We built an open source security scanner called MCP Checkpoint that is built specifically for MCP. It automatically finds what are the different MCP servers, like your agentic IDs or like your agentic clients are connected to in your system, and then it will start analyzing those MCP servers, and then it will create like a good known baseline first. And if something goes wrong from the baseline, things like rug pull attacks, for example, when you integrate an MCP server today, everything might look good, but suddenly they might be adding malicious tools or changing in existing tools with some malicious descriptions or like a malicious purpose, right? When that happens, our tool will be able to let you know, hey, this tool deviates from the point like where you have installed it. So take a look at it and then reapprove it, right? And then it will also look for prompt injections. It will also look for tool poisoning attacks. Basically anything that deviates in ways that could become dangerous. So this is like the open source version. We also have an enterprise version that goes one step further, which will check the intent as well, not just the inputs or not just the tool descriptions, parameters, etc. So basically what happens in an enterprise version is we watch the full execution path, like tool calls, memory access, data flow. MCP checkpoint can catch and block all these malicious behavior before something goes wrong. That might even look harmless on the surface, but behind the screens, like one tool might call like another tool and then trigger a malicious action, which might look completely normal. But combining all the actions together, you can see the full picture, and then you can flag all those deviations that does not match the user intent or like the intent for which the agent is built.
Okay. So from what you're saying, there's some kind of a whitelist, blacklisting to avoid tool poisoning and stuff like that.
Yeah. So basically, tool poisoning is nothing but attacker tries to have like malicious instructions inside the MCP tool descriptions. The user may never see those malicious stuff, but models actually do. And models follow those instructions as their trusted guidance, which will trigger like actions that are malicious without the user realizing that anything went wrong. It can also instruct the agents to access sensitive files, exfiltrate them, and also execute commands and much more bad things that can happen because of that.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's a very interesting area that I don't think we've discussed on the podcast with anyone else in the past. So I thank you for sharing that. So that being said, what do you guys see as the future of agentic security?
We are in 26. Agents no longer do some pilots or like or like short demos. They actually start touching like real data in production, accessing sensitive files, doing sensitive operations, training different tools, etc., etc. So we clearly see the trend here. People start using agents for automation, building autonomous systems that can decide on its own. Of course, there is an human in the loop aspect to it, but there are different ways attackers are becoming creative to bypass the human in the loop, also instructing the agent to do something malicious and things like that. So we feel providing visibility and establishing trust into these systems is a security trend for at least for 2026, because the space is like rapidly evolving. So tomorrow there might be new stuff coming into picture. But this is where the agentic security is heading towards.
Mohan, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, definitely I can. I think a few more thoughts to, as to Naveen said, we see the future as more agent use cases is going to come, and also the security aspect of thinking about agentic security will also be evolving, mainly around like what we feel is, instead of blocking the projects getting from experiment to production, like we have to focus heavily on understanding its context, and the memory aspect it touching, and also like constantly understanding the LLM behaviors, and so these are what we are looking forward into 2026. The tools, the traditional tools have like tons of blind spot. Startups like us will evolve and add more granularity and visibility into those blind spots. What like we see, agentic security today has tons of blind spot, but we really solely want to focus on providing visibility and context while the agents do their actions, by watching every step what they do, etc. And there will be like different ways to solve different problems, and there are untouched problems still exist, and also from a red teaming aspects there will be a lot of improvements within this space. At the end, as these agents are adopted, right, and CISOs go to the board meetings and higher level where business executives talk, right? Most of the people, like today, if you ask them, hey, how many MCP servers, do you have, or does your tool, is touching, like nobody has inventory. So what we are seeing in 2026 and moving forward is organizations will definitely need these visibility and also the inventory on their agentic systems, so that they can have a confidence of saying, hey, this is our adoption look like, and this is the inventory, and this is what happening in our current environment, right? So if you ask about the similar set of questions to previous systems, we do have an answer. We have good logging, monitoring. It's a lot of controls in place, but whereas when it comes to agent systems, we don't have it today. So we will continue to see more of these use cases in 2026. Also, I see tremendous improvements in SOC, where agents are being used for within cybersecurity. So a lot more to come in. There are a lot of potential to explore this space and solve like a lot of challenges ahead.
So it looks like Naveen is going to have his hands full with the product backlog, huh?
Yeah, but we also want to solely execute only on few selected problems, and the way we look at we don't want to go solve all the problems out there, but definitely a handful of work to do moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. So for some of the more consumer side applications, right? Everybody's familiar with ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini more recently. What problems exist beyond the consumer or the end user space that most people are oblivious to as consumers?
So basically, we want our customers to understand the agentic behavior. We want to make it very easy for them, because we believe most damage happens because people takes time to figure out like what went wrong, if something goes wrong, and if they can understand faster, they can fix things much faster pace. So we can't tell people they can't use ChatGPT, they can't use Copilot, etc., because they want to start building things at a rapid pace, and tools help them achieve that, right? So what lacks is like people does not know whether their employee is trying to connect their agentic browsers or agentic IDs to any malicious server, for example, like a malicious MCP server, for example. That's where we come into picture. So we analyze all the agentic behavior in real time. If they're talking to like any bad model, or if they're talking to like any bad MCP server, or if the agent is behaving in a way that it is not supposed to behave, we will be able to catch all those things and let both the developer as well as the administrator know about it, so that they can take action item and then they can try to rectify things from there. So we also a firm believer, like we want to enable the build teams not to be a blocker for them, right? So that's why we encourage teams to run our tools in detect mode. Basically, we detect some things and then we let them know this is looking suspicious. Do you still want to move forward with it? They can say yes or they can click no. There's also something called block mode. Like once they have like more confidence, they can enable that mode. So right away we will block it if something goes wrong. So these are the different things that we integrated into a platform after talking to our customers. And then, and that's one of the reasons why we think our product will be a very helpful thing for them.
Oh, that's great. Just one more MCP related question. Is there, and this is just as an end user, right? So I'm not a technical, you guys, but in the MCP server world, is there a registry where there's some type of scoring in terms of, good, bad, and registry where do not use? Do they do that? So for people that are getting started out and setting up their dev ecosystem and they're plugging into these MCP servers, is there any guidebook or any type of place that they can go to make sure that they're not using a malicious MCP server?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is no like established guide right now. Of course, there are few vendors like who try to do these things. So we have our own internal database, like where we scan all the existing open source, well-known MCP servers out there, and we try to score them. Basically, we check their open source code base and then check whether there is like any CVEs gets reported for that particular MCP server. We also check whether there is like any supply chain issues for both MCP related as well as non-MCP related, like things that they're using like any vulnerable libraries, which can trigger like any malicious comments based on like any bad user input and things like that. And then we have our own custom algorithm to score by considering all these factors that I just explained. And then based on the score, we classify whether this is good, this is bad, or whether this is like super bad. And then the customers can decide whether to allow this particular MCP server or.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit about industry trends, right? What major shifts are you seeing in the industry right now?
Okay. Yeah, I think the biggest shift we are seeing is few of the workflows and use cases moving from real like experimentation to real work and slowly into production. Like today, like more of the use cases are already existing is agent coding, and agents review the code, update Jira tickets, and then move data and trigger some workflows. So we are seeing this today, and then where the trends are shifting is more on even better workflow updates, that can reduce a lot of man hours. So that's super exciting, and also it means a lot of mistakes can happen, and that's what we want to secure from happening.
Yeah. So just to add like a couple more things. I mean, like you put like blind trust into something. Basically, you are trying to invite problems. So many teams already started feeling the pain because they are using agents in real production systems, but they do not know how to explain the problem, right? So we believe, there is an education that is still needed in this space as people are moving the agents into production. A lot of things can go wrong because these systems can decide on their own. So as the space expands, like there is definitely a need for visibility. And then once people know what their agents are doing, they can control, like if things goes wrong, they can put like some sort of controls to restrict those malicious things or when an agent tries to deviate from the normal. So
Got it. No, this is a good point. So as far as these industry shifts and turns go, how is it impacting your business as a startup, trying to create your own value in the space?
I think what I would say, is still the timing is right, but as we reiterated earlier, like because at the end enterprises has to see real value on return on investment. When these agent use cases hit into production, they see real value. They're able to reduce xyz hours or xyz productivity increase, etc., right? So those things are still lagging, because once enterprises are able to see real value in their agent use case, then they would be inclined towards securing them and allocating budget to spend on how to make them secure, and then think about different safety compliance, etc. So that shift is is slow. So that's why I see there is a minor impact there. So, the otherwise, when you look at overall, the pace and then the acceleration that is happening. So for example, if we had this podcast on, like in 2 years prior, like, we would not be talking about agents, right? Like there will be something else, etc. No MCP. So this is in a fast paced evolving space. And the space of acceleration is super high, and where things are heading, it will definitely unlock these potential. When I see as an impact as of today is realizing the real value on these are lower. And if this could continue to improve on, then this impact will be nullified moving forward.
Got it. So as a business, given where you guys are at, what's working well for you right now, and what's been challenging?
I think what's working is, like a lot of people are reaching out to us by trying our open source scanner. Uh, ask questions. Hey, how does this work? Hey, can I use this? We see a lot of interest in this as an inbound, and people understand the problem space. As I mentioned, like, very few early adopters are understanding very well. And what's challenging is the education part. Like, many teams, feel the pain, but they don't have clear language for it yet. And then, other challenges to, ensure, we are able to, like, I think ensuring that these shift, like we are able to, keep up with the shift is another challenge. Yep. Naveen, add something.
Yeah, just to add like a couple more points. So in fact, like Mohan mentioned, people are reaching out to us asking for more features in our open source version. We even pushed like another version by fulfilling the features that they asked us to implement. One of the big challenge that we are seeing is like customers are using agents in their pre-prod environment right now. They want to understand the agent behavior before they can move things into production. So it's more like an evolving space right now. We are in this changing environment where people start believing that agents is like the future. So I think once they start implementing agents in production, there is definitely a need for visibility and security. And we believe that has been the challenge that we are facing right now. Because people themselves, they don't understand agents, they don't understand agentic security, what are the agentic threats. So we have to educate them and also try to publish different materials to make them understand better about the problem space.
Yeah, maybe I would like to add another challenge that I just remembered of. So, I mean, the main challenge is also for folks to get the signal to noise ratio. I mean, it's also like when you think of a lot of the times it's like too noisy, where folks are, like, it's still, like, for them, it's very hard to understand what's noise and what is clear signal, in terms of what is a security problem versus what is just merely hype or buzzwords, right? Like, so I see a lot of the times people get confused on what's what's happening within this space. And I see that's becoming more challenge with being a slopped, basically.
Yeah, no, for sure. What metrics are you guys most focused on improving?
Yeah, so I think from a business aspect, we are, working on how we could improve on the engagement, and especially, uh, you know, are the people trying to use our tools in their real workflows or only in the experiment, and also we are looking at metrics like how we could scale within the teams, and also like the integrations that we could offer. So like it's because at the end it's very hard, like if we think of an enterprise level customers, adopting, like the deploying the tools and also having them adopt, is our two different things. So we are tracking the metrics on the number of deployments, and also the number of use cases and workflows that we are able to secure. And like as we scale into like larger organizations, we want to ensure that our product is also able to handle, um, and provide the protection that's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add like one more point. From technical aspect, we want to provide metrics to our customers, how many agents that they are running in the environment, and how many are in pre-prod versus prod. What are the different MCP servers the agents are talking to today, and then how many of those MCP servers are malicious, and what are the different tools provided by those MCP servers? What are the different resources provided by those MCP servers? And if any of those tools or resources is bad, we can also provide metrics to our customers. Hey, this is bad, and this is how like we blocked, and this is something that we blocked, but we asked user before we blocked it, and the user also confirmed it, and things like that. So these are some of the metrics where the customers can see, and then they can understand how agents are behaving in the environment, and then they can take necessary steps, for preventing future incidents.
Yeah. Yeah, one another key metric to add is how many real attacks that we are able to stop in the wild. That's one key metric that we are really looking at. We recently had one customer saying, "Hey, we are able to detect prompt injection in a top well-known organization's MCP server." So, by hearing all this, puts us in a position, hey, we to really add some value. So, we also constantly want to see the metrics where we really are able to find something in the wild and able to stop. That kind of metric is really adding a lot of sense of why we do this, so that that's something we are tracking.
That's good. Very valuable insights, I think, from both sides, as a business as well as from a technical perspective. Let's talk about a little more on the business side, right? What does your ideal customer look like, Mohan?
Yeah, our ideal customers are, highly regulated industries, such as like HealthTech, FinTech, where there are several startups coming up in uplifting their workflows within HealthTech. We are, constantly talking to insurance, hospital providers, where tons of use cases are has been explored, from improving the billing, scheduling, etc. And also we see a lot of use cases within fintech where mortgage applications are being agent is being applied in making decisions. These highly regulated industries are definitely exploring the use cases, and also they care more about security. And when it comes to the people like who we are talking are like usually the platform teams, security teams, engineering teams who care about security and trust. So we want to start with this specific ICPs, and there are like a lot more attributes that we add in to it, and then we want to execute and show real value to these customers, and then move on to adding value to other ideal customers.
Yeah. So with when there's a lot of regulation in these industries, right? Healthcare, fintech, insurance. Have you had customers that have expressed concerns with how do we do a confidential compute, or how do we make sure that the compute that is happening with the AI agents is not open, so there's no data breaches, um, and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially within health tech, our customers are worried about HIPAA violations. So something constantly comes up. So that's why, like, we are adding that trust layer for them so that they can confidently move these use case into production. We ensure that they're able to secure their infrastructure and as well as their agentic systems, and we ensure that they not only follow compliance. Security is more than compliance, right? So we ensure both side of angles are covered for our customers, and clearly they are getting to notice that, hey, this if we screw this up, we may end up in violating policies, like especially Europe, GDPR, and a specific compliances are really on the rise, and these laws and regulations are going to get improved too, because today it's still a lot of improvement process and phases. And to give our customers confidence, we also working on our own compliance standards, and we are getting our SOC 2 certification done, and also working on HIPAA certifications. So so that it gives customers, hey, yes, we do also handle your data securely, right? So compliance definitely is on the radar from our customers and also on our own, because that's basic level of trust that we could offer.
Yeah. And just to add like a couple more points. So customers like really care about data leaving the environment. So a few of our customers express this concern. So that's why like we also have an on-prem version. If they really want to call our SaaS version, like we can set up the scanner on their environment so that their agents can talk to the on-prem version, and then they can know the real risk scores within the environment itself, and then they can take a decision based on that. And also like we have like tailor-made models actually trained for the industries Mohan mentioned, health tech, fintech, for example. We closely work with all these health tech professionals, fintech professionals, try to understand their pain points and convert those pain points into our solution, so that like we provide a better solution or better product tailor made for their industry, so that they have like very less noise when compared to other products out there.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think computing inside of an enclave makes sense in this part, right? With so much regulation. Have you guys done, I guess, Naveen, from a technical standpoint, right? Have you guys done any research or any type of thought, put any thought into FHE type of standards, homomorphic encryption, stuff like that?
Yes, we have. So, for example, we mentioned about patents, right? So we always look for like ways like where we can innovate and do things like that. So we are working on a couple of patents right now, and then we also plan to publish like few papers in the upcoming weeks. Basically, it's our way of giving back to the community, where we will talk about like identify different unique solutions within health tech and fintech, and how we trained our models or like the agents that we are running to catch those problems out there. So not necessarily encryption, but we focus on the agentic intent behavior where the actual risk lies, and then we try to come up with like unique solutions to catch those problems. So
Just as we get to wrapping up, where do you guys want to be in the next 6 to 12 months from now? Whether it's your org size, revenue, customer base, customer base, either of these, where do you see yourself in 6 to 12 months?
Yeah. We want to be working closely with teams who are uplifting and depending on agents to do real work. We ensure to listen more from them and improve our product. And in terms of customers, like we have few early customers, and we want to scale that up. And also from a revenue angle, we want to 5x in next 6 months from a revenue standpoint. And also it's more than how we see this is, can we deliver a real value to customers, and can this be providing confidence in moving their agentic workflows from lab or experiment to production? So we constantly ask this question to ourselves: is this solving their problem, so that they have enough confidence? In the next 6 to 12 months, we will continue on that journey, adding real value. And like, we clearly on the other side of trenches, being a security engineers for a while, we understand what security engineers care, what is a product to work with. So we are building things that we wish we had when we were there. Even when we worked with top vendors, we always had hustles and hurdles in deploying and seeing real value, fine tuning. And it takes like 6 months to see any product that we buy to see a real value. We want to cut down short, right? Immediately we want to deliver value to customers. Hey, here is the tool, like, get the POC, and once the POC is on it, like, see real value. And things has to move fast enough, and also ability to listen and fine tune as needed. So we are here to support in this agentic adoption era for large enterprises to small customers. We are here to bring that security layer for them, so that they don't want to worry about security, and they can constantly build on what they really need, right? Like, because they care more about uplifting their own workflow and driving their revenue, rather than worrying about their security. So we want to fix that gap. And we are already seeing great interest, and we will continue the momentum for the next 6 to 12 months too.
Do you guys offer any red team, blue team type of services at present?
No, we do not offer like a red team, blue team service at this point. We want to solely focus on our product improvement. We did get a lot of some inbounds for that. We really want to be clear on what we really want to focus on. So that's why, like, we are not doing at this point. But also, like, when we are working with our customers, when we talk through, we definitely, like, while we deploy our products, we learn about their infrastructure and environment. We do provide some suggestions and guidances on based on what we see and how things work in their place. But we don't do that more like an official engagement. It's more like, hey, hey, we noticed this. Can you, like, what's your thought on this? Or, this is something needs to be fixed. Those type of guidances we provide, but our sole focus is today is to build, our real time visibility and context for agents.
Right. So question for both you guys, right? If you had a magic wand to fix one thing in the business that is helping you, that is holding you back or slowing you down, what would that be?
Oh man, that's that's a great question. So I guess if I had a magic wand, I will try to learn this non-deterministic nature of LLMs even in a better way, right? So I could be Harry Potter, do that thing, and then I will just definitely try to understand more of their behaviors in real systems. I mean, those are the things that we constantly innovate, and with that magic wand, that will further help us to improve what we're building. So yeah, a lot to do, but I guess that will be my first ask.
Yeah. So from my perspective, if I have a magic pen, I would love to keep the agentic intent in check, because that's where most of the risk lies. So I mean, we really want to give our customers the control and visibility into the agentic workflows. So if I have a magic wand, I would love to, build that or do that for our customers.
Oh, that's great. I've appreciated you guys being on the show and just sharing all your insights. I think there's a lot to unpack here. So I really appreciate you guys being on the show and just sharing all the nuances and the aspects that go into securing the agentic space. Any closing thoughts for our listeners before we end the recording?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thanks for having us. And it's amazing to be here and talk through some of the challenges and problems that we are seeing, and we are happy to bring them to the lights, especially, you know, we been there, we see these problems firsthand, and then we are also constantly listening from our customers. And I think the for listeners, if you're building with agents or MCPs, we would love to hear from you the things that is working well for you and what's breaking and what are the things that you've been thinking about. So we would love to have those conversations, genuinely try to understand so that we can help shape our things that we are building on. So again, thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Pleasure having you guys.